You've started the gym 4 times. You've downloaded the language app, the meditation app, the habit tracker. You've bought the book, started the course, opened the notebook. And somewhere between the excitement of starting and the moment it got hard, you quietly stopped. Every time. And you've spent a long time telling yourself this means something bad about who you are, that you lack discipline, that you're not the kind of person who follows through, that other people have something you don't. The research says something different, and it's not what you've been told. The first thing worth understanding is what's actually happening neurologically when you start something new. Your brain releases dopamine, not when you complete things, but when you anticipate the reward of completing them. The first week of a new habit feels genuinely good because the novelty itself is triggering that dopamine response. You're excited, you're consistent, you feel like a different person. Then the novelty fades, the dopamine drops, and what's left is the actual habit, which turns out to feel much harder without the neurological excitement that was doing most of the work. This isn't weakness. It's just how dopamine works. The feeling that made starting feel easy was never going to last. Most people interpret its disappearance as a sign that this particular thing wasn't right for them. Usually what disappeared was just the chemical reward of newness. The second problem is that most people set goals at the wrong level of abstraction. Get fit is not a plan. Write more is not a plan. Learn Spanish is not a plan. Research by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer found that people who converted vague intentions into specific when-then plans, when I sit down after dinner, I will open Duolingo for 5 minutes, were up to 3 times more likely to actually follow through. The brain needs a specific trigger, not a general intention. Without the trigger, the habit has to compete with every other demand on your attention at the same moment you're supposed to do it, and it usually loses. The third problem is the size. Most people set the bar at the level of the person they want to become, rather than the level of the person they currently are. You decide to run 5 times a week when you currently run 0 times a week. The gap between current behavior and target behavior is so large that any miss feels like failure, and the psychological cost of feeling like a failure is often larger than the psychological cost of quitting entirely. Researchers at Stanford found that reducing a habit to its smallest possible version, so small it feels almost embarrassingly easy, builds the behavioral consistency first, and the size follows naturally from there. 2 minutes, not 2 hours. 1 page, not 1 chapter. 1 rep, not 1 hour. The fourth problem is that most people are trying to maintain habits using motivation, which is a variable resource, rather than identity, which is a stable one. Motivation is how you feel about doing the thing on a given day. Identity is who you've decided you are. I'm trying to run and I'm a runner produce completely different behavior when motivation is low, because one is a goal you're chasing and the other is a self-concept you're protecting. The shift from goal-based thinking to identity-based thinking is the most reliable predictor of long-term consistency researchers have found. More reliable than any productivity system, tracking app, or accountability partner. You haven't failed at sticking to things because you're undisciplined. You've been working against your own neurology, chasing a dopamine response that was always going to fade, setting intentions without specific triggers, aiming at a version of yourself you haven't become yet, and using motivation as your engine instead of identity. None of those are character flaws. They're design errors, and design errors can be fixed.